What's going on, everybody? C4, welcome back to more C4. We talked a little bit earlier in the day about the Philadelphia Eagles signing free agent running back Rashad Penny, who was my top running back target for the Eagles. I still don't know the numbers of that deal, and it's almost 9 o'clock my time. All I know is that it's a one-year deal, is what I've seen reported on Twitter. Give me an old follow on Twitter right here, at PapaXC4, for my initial reactions to everything. And all things Eagles. We have a good time there. But Rashad Penny, still no other information. And I can't properly grade that. But knowing that it's a one-year deal, I'm going to assume that there's not crazy guarantees there. And I definitely would love to see a deal that's cheap, but has a chance to maybe be expensive if Rashad Penny hits certain performance bonuses and stuff like that. So, and knowing Howie, Roseman, I'm going to gamble that that's what the contract looks like. But speaking on the backfield, the Giant Killer has returned Boston Scott on a one-year deal worth about $2 million. And that's awesome. Even it's like he literally is always good against the Giants. So the fact that for two important divisional games every year, we have a guy that strikes fear in the opposing team, that's awesome. And I mean, Boston Scott has made the most of his carries. Like you look at his stats, very much RB2, RB3, right? And he's still, he got 7 touchdowns last year, 400 yards, 500 yards the year before that. Almost 450 and 5 the year before. Like he's always been serviceable, and I think with Boston Scott, it's a committee approach again. Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, Rashad Penny. A lot still, goes on. Rashad Penny has to stay healthy if this is kind of the direction that we're going. But I think still on paper, our running back room with Rashad Penny looks very similar to last year. And obviously that's a John Madden analysis because 2 of the 3 running backs are still on the team in Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott. But you look at someone like Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders was our upside, big hitter running back that has struggled with his injuries. Rashad Penny, big hit running back, maybe even more upside potentially than Miles Sanders, struggles with injuries. So we're kind of at the same spot. I don't know. I don't want to say Philly's going to explore drafting a running back. We kind of talked in the Rashad Penny segment that. It's unlikely, very unlikely now. I'd put it at 1%. Unless the draft board's completely shifted, unless Philly trades down from 10 or something crazy like that, or maybe Bijan Robinson's still there at 30, we could be pressed into making a move like that. But it's, we've got our running back room right now. So it's nice seeing Boston Scott come back. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section. I just think Boston Scott, awesome Eagle, especially for that price point. It feels like if there's ever a week, let's just say it's week 7, don't care who we're playing. We're not playing the Giants. But it's week 7. Kenny Gainwell's out. Rashad Penny's out. I'd feel decent if it's all right, Boston Scott gets a start. I feel like most Eagle fans are going he can get the job done. And having that for $2 million, absolutely. But the big news of the day so far, there's still a chance. We're still waiting for a certain safety, is James Bradberry. All-Pro James Bradberry is returning back to the Philadelphia Eagles on a 3-year deal worth $38 million, including $20 million fully guaranteed with some incentives. So it's under $15 million per year, which is pretty much the price point for an All-Pro corner. He's getting paid, I believe, outside top 10 corner money. There still could be some names to fall. I'm expecting Fletcher Cox is going to be a big name that's brought up for an Eagles loss. I'm expecting Fletcher Cox probably to bounce to maybe Cleveland or something like that. But if we somehow don't trade Slay, we give him an extension and we lower his cap hit this year and push it to future years, and if we bring back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, it completely blows up the narrative that Philly's losing everybody. Oh, Eagle fans, mad at the world that their whole teams, they're losing their whole team. Jason Kelsey's back, Brandon Graham's back, James Bradberry's back, Boston Scott's back. If you can round that out with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and not trading Darius Slay, I think you're at least seeing a little bit of Philly's a destination team, which you always like to think, regardless if you're watching this as a non-Eagle fan, you always like to think to a certain extent that as long as your team's not a terrible reputation, that you're a destination team. People want to come. But ultimately, contender teams and the Dolphins going to Florida where it's cheap taxes, those are the teams that are destination teams. And Philly is right in that mix. I think if you are looking at the landscape of the NFC, right, and what I'm about to say is going to be supported by something, but if you're looking at the landscape of the NFC, I unbiasedly, completely unbiasedly, I don't know how you can't say Philly is the front runners to get back to the Super Bowl from the NFC. You look at the 49ers, still question marks at the quarterback spot, right? You look at, you go Dallas, they got Stephon Gilmore, which I actually thought was pretty good business. The Giants, hey, as much as I want, like I already said in the other video, as much as I think, Darren Waller likely is washed, it's also reasonable to be like, hey, let's be optimistic. Darren Waller can get healthy again and contribute to this team the same way. Philly should be optimistic and hope that Rashad Penny can stay healthy and contribute to this team. But I'll say that Darren Waller doesn't necessarily, even if he gets back to playing like a top 5 or like in that conversation of a top 5 tight end, I don't know if Darren Waller is enough for me to put the Giants in that territory of like, well, maybe they'll win the NFC. Commanders got to figure out their quarterback. Bucs are going to take a step back. I think Bucs have a good roster, but still no quarterback. Saints, is Derek Carr, you know what I'm saying? Like, the more, like, Aaron Rodgers likely leaving the conference. It's Detroit, Jared Goff. Like, the more and more you break it down, I'm not going to spend 5 minutes just kind of ripping on the rest of the NFC. The more and more you look at it, the more and more it's like, if you want to get decent money and go win a ring, there's not a better landing spot. Like, that's why I think I'm not even going to project it, but like these veteran linebackers, Bobby Wagner, Levante David, if they want to prioritize winning, they might come to Philadelphia. They might take a very team-friendly deal to try and hop on the bandwagon and go in, like a bunch of players tried to do with the Rams a couple of years ago. Like, I think that's why Bobby Wagner went to the Rams. It was like, hey, let's go win another one. And that's why they got like OBJ and stuff like that. I think it's time for the Eagles to take a spin as that team where like all these veterans are like, yeah, you know what? Let's try and win something here. But here's a quote: Josina Anderson, aka Alshon Jeffrey's BFF, said James Bradberry basically said, he took less money to stay in Philadelphia. That right there speaks to the culture that Nick Sirianni's building. That speaks to the idea of where the Eagles stand in the rest of the NFL. Understanding, James Bradberry could have easily been like, man, my last play there, like, I don't want to go back there. Maybe that's the bad end to a chapter, and we just close that book and go somewhere else with the soft holding call. We'll say it's soft. You know what I'm saying? He admitted it's a holding call, and it's just one of those ones where it's like we're not gonna open that one up. We're not gonna open that conversation up. He admitted it. He took responsibility for that, which is awesome. I absolutely, you want like that kind of guy in your locker room, but it could have been easy for him to just be like, that's my chapter in Philly, going somewhere else. I want to forget about that. He's like embracing that. He's like, I'm coming back. Let's run it back. Let's right the ship. And that's awesome. But that being said, we look at the stats here from James Bradberry last season with the Philadelphia Eagles. Second team All-Pro, 44 tackles, 2 TFLs. We got 17 PBUs, 3 picks, 1 pick six. He's good. He's a great player. Great player, but I need to stress I like him and Slay together. I would prefer him and Slay together. I don't know how much. I like James Bradberry as a 1A, 1B type thing with Darius Slay than him being a straight up 1, and then our corner 2 being someone that we have to draft. And as much as there might be a corner at 10 worth drafting, we still might at 10. Even if we keep Slay, be like, all right, we'll get, who's ever there. If Gonzalez still there, or Devin Witherspoon, or Joey Porter Jr. If they're the best guy at the board at 10, by all means, still grab and add another corner. You can never have enough corners. But I think there's a lot of value keeping Slay. And I'm worried right now. That is my biggest worry. Even maybe more so than are we going to get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or not, is I just, maybe Slay's gone. And that would suck because I like Slay. Slay's a great guy. Maybe slowing up a little bit. Last season it felt like he played well, but might have been near the end of the season. Wasn't the best. But I don't know, man. It's like all this money's going somewhere, and Darius, like, I don't think he wants a raise either. I think he just wants to have more years on his contract, which, makes sense. There was a report that Philadelphia reportedly called Dallas to see if they wanted Darius Slay before they went with Stephon Gilmore. And the guy that reported that clarified a couple minutes ago that it was Eagles not making the call to Dallas. It was letting Drew Rosenhaus, super agent, NFL super agent, make the call and try to find a landing spot for Slay. Yeah, man, it's just happy. I'm happy that we got James Bradberry. I'd love to know what you guys think about the retaining of James Bradberry, the retaining of Boston Scott alongside the addition of Rashad Penny today. Yesterday, obviously, was the Jason Kelce day. I think a lot of people are still definitely waiting for what happens with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think the market's kind of been set right now. Jesse Bates got about 16 for a year, I think it was. So Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's probably looking 14, 15, somewhere in that range. And I mean, I don't know. I have no idea where Philadelphia's salary cap. I don't think anybody knows right now how much money Philadelphia is truly working with, because there still is an idea of restructuring Lane Johnson, restructuring Darius Slay, and kicking that cap down the road and free up a little bit more funds. Plus, you have the Jalen Hurts contract extension, which wouldn't kick in until next year, but I'm pretty sure you could give guarantees and stuff like that. I don't know how that works. Like, my dumb outsider thing is, like, I think that's on Jeffrey Lurie. I think Jeffrey Lurie can give a bunch of money to Jalen Hurts right now, and it doesn't really take effect on the salary cap till next year. Don't quote me on it. What I am saying is we're still waiting. We're still waiting on a couple guys, but you got to be happy that James Bradberry's not leaving, because we know firsthand in Philadelphia how difficult it is to have good corners. Now, here's hoping that James Bradberry is brought back to play with Slay, not be corner one and replacing Darius Slay, but I'm sure we'll find that out in the coming days. So that'll do it for right now. If there's any other news before I go to bed, I'll be sure to hop back in and chat with you guys, but let me know what you think about it. James Bradberry, Boston Scott, back in Philadelphia. Who do you want next? Assuming it's not Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You can't say that. Do you want a linebacker? Do you think we go and replace Kaiser White, who left today, and TJ Edwards, who left yesterday? Like, it's Nakobe Dean, and who else? Maybe a veteran? Is there going to be a way that we could afford a Levante David, Bobby Wagner type? Or do we got to go a little bit more under the radar? Who knows? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll see you guys back. Elijah Moore trade with the Jets. I'm also loving that one. I'm trying to manifest that one. Trying to speak it into existence. That would be absolutely awesome. But make sure you give my Twitter and I'll follow. And I'll see you guys back here whenever there's more Eagles news to talk about. Till then, it's your boy C4 saying peace